Hey guys, sorry I've been gone for like a month. Turns out the Mexican cartel really fucking hates it when you— No, this can't be. I need to sit down. Oh my god, guys, I can't believe it's been almost a whole year since I've last uploaded. I guess something about being locked in a dark basement really makes time fly. And before you ask, don't worry, it wasn't anything dangerous, it was just some really kinky roleplay. In fact, me and my best buddy down there, Juan watched a lot of Disney Channel original movies while I was down there. The first movie we watched was actually something that a lot of people requested that I review, that being the Disney cult classic, Camp Rock. Released on June 20th, 2008, the movie garnered over 8 million viewers, and to this day, it's currently the third highest viewed Disney movie. Which sounds like an insane statistic, but I say this a lot, but cable is dead, so it's not really that impressive. It's not like anything's gonna be taking the title anyway. Now, even though this movie has more views than my entire YouTube channel, it still didn't review that well. Its reception was exceptionally lukewarm, even to negative at some points. There are two primary criticisms you'll see when reading reviews of this movie. The first one is, why is this movie trying so hard to be High School Musical? And the second one is, this movie is more formulaic than a chemistry class. And both of those are incredibly accurate, but of course we'll get to that later. Another large reason that this movie is so special and so popular is because of the cast. Not only was it what made Demi Lovato into a household name at the time, but it also included the Jonas Brothers, a boy band that was only ramping up in popularity after their first smash hit in 2005. It's pretty insane to think about the stunts that Disney Channel used to perform for their original movies these days. Doing this could not have been cheap in any way, shape, or form. Though to be fair, Disney did have a lot more money to light on fire in the 2000s, which is probably why they released a sequel to this movie. But that's enough spawn camping on the intro to this film. Let's go rock on to the movie. Yeah, I guess my transition game's a little off, huh? Okay, well that's just mean. Camp Rock starts with our main character, Mitchie, played by Demi Lovato, getting dressed for her last day of school. I think it goes without saying, but this movie is incredibly 2000s. Everything from the set design to the hairstyling to the costumes just reeks of the mid to late aughts. Mitchie is currently in the process of psychologically manipulating her mother to let her attend the titular Camp Rock. She does this by subtly leaving the same pamphlet all over the house in places that pamphlets would naturally wind up in, such as the crisper in her fridge and taped to a vacuum cleaner. This actually gets us ready for the fact that throughout this movie's 90 minutes of runtime, it'll use exactly zero nuance. This is Mitchie's friend. I would tell you her name, except I don't know it and she never shows up again in the movie. In fact, I don't know why this scene happens. All this character does is give the dictionary definition of Camp Rock to the camera. That's really it. Immediately after the scene happens, she goes back to home anyway, so I don't know why they even did that. That whole scene, I could have probably skipped that too. I don't know why they even put that in the movie. But it would have probably been more subtle had that exposition come from Mitchie, like, explaining Camp Rock to her mom. You know, the two characters in the movie that we will actually see for the rest of the movie. It would have been not only much more natural for the movie— Are you serious? I don't know if you guys can hear that, but there's actually like a loud ass plane. Like, I swear to God, it's about to crash. Okay, but another reason that entire scene makes no sense is because as soon as Mitchie gets back home, her mom just says that she's gonna go to Camp Rock anyway, which is the exact thing that she told her that she wouldn't be doing like 2 scenes before. So what the fuck was the point of all of this, actually? Like, why lie and tell her that she can't go to Camp Rock, or even set up that she won't be going, if not even 5 minutes later you're like, oh yeah, she's actually going to Camp Rock. Like, it's not a surprise to the audience. The movie's titled Camp Rock. We knew she was going. However, there is a caveat that her mom will be working as a chef for Camp Rock, and Mitchie will be required to help out intermediately. So the next scene is our first look at Camp Rock, and I know I said it before, but oh my god, this movie is incredibly 2000s. From the outfits, to the writing, to the acting styles, to the character tropes. I also think that it's very funny that the first thing that we see at Camp Rock is someone playing drums on the side of a bus and a guy doing that. I was chill with the drum guy, but this guy makes me uncomfortable, I'm not gonna lie. After arriving in the room, Mitchie and her mom are introduced to Brown Cesario, Camp Rock's director. He's Australian, so that's cool, but more importantly, he's very well connected, so being on his good side would be in anybody's best interest. About 6 sentences ago, I mentioned that tropes are going to be a big thing in this movie, and that's very clear with our next character, Tess Tyler. Tess Tyler is played by Megan Martin, and no, I'm not making that alliteration up. Like, you can really tell how derivative this movie can be at times when they fucking manage to fit in a queen bee character to a summer camp movie. Like, what, has she done this before? Something that Brown stated in the last scene is that Camp Rock is a great chance to get connected with other people in the music industry. That makes sense. But Tess Tyler is a Nepo baby, and I'm not making that up. Her mother runs a large company, and Tess is already incredibly well connected. I honestly don't get why she needs to be here at all. The other character that Michi meets at Camp Rock is her first real friend, Caitlin Geller, played by Allison Stoner. Her goal is to be a future music producer. She even brings some proof of concept.
Cool.
Well, isn't that just swell? This is Dee DeLu, played by Julie Brown. Despite being Camp Rock's musical director, she's not nearly as important as you think she would be. She only really shows up when the camp does its little check-in events, and those are few and far between. But she does give some very important exposition for our characters. The entire point of Camp Rock is to build up to what they call Final Jam. And whoever wins Final Jam gets a record deal with a very big label. And if you think it's a bad idea to give someone a record deal based on one song, first of all, watch Let It Shine, and second of all, this actually happened to the Jonas Brothers. So, I guess it's not that crazy. Most of the girls at Camp Rock don't seem to be too entertained by the life-changing opportunity that has just presented itself. More of them are concerned about the camp's first celebrity instructor. This is Shane Gray, played by Joe Jonas. He's the in-universe nephew of Brown Cesario, who has a bad boy persona that he's here to get rid of. The other two Jonas brothers are here, but they don't matter, like, at all. They literally fuck off like 10 minutes into the movie and then show up like 2 other times, I think. But their grand total screen time is like 4 minutes. I'm not kidding you. This is a completely unrelated side note slash tangent, but I actually used to live in the same area of Texas as the Jonas Brothers, and my sister used to be a waitress at a restaurant that the Jonas Brothers, and actually just celebrities in general, used to apparently frequent. And one day the Jonas Brothers came by, and I want to say it was Kevin Jonas signed my sister's phone, and then it got stolen, which I guess, like, there's no real point of this story. Just, if you're the person watching this video, genuinely fuck you. That's it. That's the entire point of this. I'm never gonna have another chance to bring this up, so it's now or never. After her first night in the kitchen, Michi is asked to take out the trash bags, and oh my lord, these are the most empty trash bags I have ever seen. And I'm saying that as someone who also works in a kitchen. Like, personally, I've never taken out a trash bag that weighs less than, like, I don't know, like Garfield. I don't know. He probably weighs like 40 pounds. I guess I could have just said 40 pounds. But I'm American, so I use real units of measure, like Garfield's. So she goes to take out the trash, and she walks by a piano in an empty room, and she decides to sit down and play it. This is where we get the first song of the movie, called This Is Me. It's kind of tired and contrived, and there's nothing really special about this version of it, but it does come back. Of course, you all know the This Is Me song from this movie, but here's where it's set up, and it'll be important later. This moment of the movie is kind of your tired and contrived person with connections overhears a person desperate to become something moment. I'm also not gonna rate this song because it's kind of just a piano version of the song that gets infinitely better at the end of the movie. Like, it's the title song of the movie. But yes, Shane does hear the song, and now he's on a hunt to find the girl who sung it. In the next scene, the camp has its first talent show of sorts, which was actually arranged rather quickly, all things considered. I don't know how long they've been here, but like 5 days would be like my maximum guess. This song is sung in universe by a character named Lola, who's not relevant, but in real life it's sung by someone named Aaron Doyle, whose music career peaked right here. This song is titled What It Takes, and I respect this movie's respect for different genres of music. This is still more pop than hip hop, but there's some hip hop influence in here, and it's really catchy. But the choreography for this scene is just kind of boring, and you have to remember that High School Musical came out 2 years earlier than this, and High School Musical 2 was already on the way. And you could argue, yeah, this is a 2-minute one-off song that has nothing to do with the story, but one, if that's the case, don't include it, and two, I still don't think that if your song is short, you should give it less attention. I almost think you should give it more because it is so short. I do think I'm just being nitpicky though, because I am actually gonna put the song in the DCOM Hall of Fame. I'm giving it like an 8 out of 10. It's not a radio hit, but it's still pretty catchy for a Disney Channel song. After running into Tess Tyler and company, Michi immediately decides that not only does she want Tess to like her, but she wants everyone to think that she's a privileged little shit. That way, everyone will like her. So she created the giant unsustainable lie that her mother works at one of the biggest Chinese musical industries in the world. What an insane lie to tell, considering one Google search could disprove that. Like, this was 2008. We had technology. So Michi's lie makes Tess decide that Michi has what it takes to be her friend, and by what it takes, I mean copious amounts of money. So Tess decides to let Michi move into her cabin. Okay, and Michi's mom just lets her do this, and I get it's because she wants her to make friends at camp, but you don't even know these girls. That's insane. And being friends with Tyler means she can't be friends with Caitlin, the only person who's been nice to her since she got here. But in the cabin scene, we do learn that the reason that Tess is kind of a bitch is because her mother doesn't love her. Well, that makes two of us. So remember guys, we can't get mad at Tess for anything she does that's morally reprehensible because her mother is too busy and rich to take care of her daughter. Hashtag Tess Tyler did nothing wrong. To maintain the lie that Michi made up, throughout the movie she'll be saying things that are probably offensive to Chinese culture, like making up random Chinese words and brands. And I don't know, maybe this is just an unpopular opinion, but I don't know if we should be doing that actually, just honestly. Tess also steals Michi's songbook and then makes Michi sing it in front of everyone, and it genuinely feels like watching a public execution. There's also like a 400% chance that Tess is gonna commit intellectual property theft by the end of this film. Like, that's always how this goes. After being told to sing in front of all of her suite mates, she then has to sing in front of all of her classmates. This seems like a very odd teaching technique, does it not? It's the first day of class. Just telling them to get up and do something doesn't really seem like productive learning, does it? Also, this is Camp Rock? I have no reason to believe that he would assume that any of these people are talented singers, especially since a lot of these kids are sitting in front of instruments. I mean, one of these kids carries around drumsticks everywhere. I don't know, it's still kind of just a crazy thing to assume, because you can imagine if she was just like terrible and it was just like the most embarrassing thing for her. After hearing Michi sing, Tess decides that she wants Michi to be one of her backup singers, which is incredibly degrading. But Michi is either too stupid or too blind to realize this, so she happily accepts. She then has to make up another vaguely offensive lie to go help her mother in the kitchen. At this point of the movie, I'm debating saying that there is no actual antagonist because Michi is her own worst enemy. Not only is she creating lies that she can't keep up with, but by mingling with Tess, she's sabotaging her own career, friendships, and relationship with her mother for what? Like, sure, maybe Tess is well connected and maybe Michi wants in on that, but if Tess had connections that meant anything, that would mean that A, everyone would be trying to talk to her already, or B, she would already be famous. That being said, it's referenced several times throughout the movie that Camp Rock is a place and a camp where you want to make connections. And I'm assuming when they said that, they weren't only referring to Tess Tickle Tips over here. So Jonas Guy has actually been in about 4 scenes now, but none of them mattered. So this is the first one that I'm actually going to talk about. In this scene, he gets humbled by Michi for being an incredibly rude douchebag. That being said, the reason he was rude was kind of valid. The reason he came here in the first place is because he got a breakfast that he deemed inedible because it had an item that he was allergic to, which I think is a pretty reasonable thing to be pissed about. Just because people with peanut allergies are naturally weaker than the rest of us doesn't mean that they deserve to die. Do you guys think that this was in the script, or do you think Daniel Fathers just did this? Michi is using Chinese culture for a lot of her excuses, and I'm not gonna call it explicitly racist because, let's be honest, it really was just a different time. And you do have to remember the fact that in universe she's 16 and the people she's around are 16. Not only is she stupid enough to say it, but the people around her are stupid enough to believe it. That being said, it is by definition cultural appropriation. Though I feel like every time I review one of these DCOMs, they do something like vaguely racist, sexist, or homophobic, and I'm just like, what? They're doing something vaguely racist, sexist, or homophobic? Like, we just probably gotta this is just how it was at the time. That's just what it was. It's not that I'm actually upset about these things, I just feel like it'd be weird if I didn't reference them, and I think they're really more funny to talk about than anything else. The first class that Shane teaches is hip-hop dance, and low-key, this white boy has no groove. And the kids he's teaching aren't even doing what he's saying for like 90% of the dance, so like what the fuck even is this class? And in case you're wondering, the hat and microphone are essential parts of the dance that he says are mandatory. Is that a fucking trumpet-shaped water fountain? Holy shit! I'm not even, that fucking rocks. There's no joke about that, I fucking love that. Because of the lies she's trying to keep up, Michi is beginning to neglect her mother and her responsibilities, but I'm beginning to wonder why the hell that actually matters. Like, yeah, sure, it's Camp Rock and it's mostly supposed to be fun, I think, but it also is kind of like school. I mean, you're going to 4 classes a day. It's not like she has time for this stuff. And I really do think it may just be a little mean to not let her spend time with her friends and expect her to be in the kitchen when everybody else is out having fun. Also, her mother is here with her own catering company. If your catering company would fail without your daughter, then maybe you shouldn't have a catering company. Michi's lie has now evolved into the point where she's telling people that her mother is a famous cook who works for the Chinese network and has cooked for such famous people as Pharrell Williams. The next scene is the second event of the movie and the third song of the movie. Seriously, I wasn't lying when I said that this lady only shows up during these events. That's the only time you will see her. Don't get used to her. The third song of the movie is titled Too Cool, and I've got to be completely honest with you, I don't know if it's a good idea to have untrained dancers in front of a giant bonfire. Seems like an unnecessary safety hazard to me. But the only thing worse than these OSHA violations is Tess Twinkle Toes singing. It's not good. And I think that's the point. Like, she is a Nepo baby after all. It's kind of like the Sharpay of this universe, you know? But I will say they did a great job of making this the most excruciating listen of my life. Amazing job, Disney. 4 out of 10. Wait, why is everybody clapping? Am I crazy? This next scene is actually the first scene where Michi and Shane talk to each other for the first time, and this guy fucking sucks. Breaking news, I know, but like, just listen to literally the first fucking thing that he says to her.
Can a guy get some peace?
Sorry, it sounded kind of different.
Than my usual stupid cookie-cutter pop star stuff?
I, too, also talk to women that I am physically attracted to as if they are unintelligent. Crazy thing is, this would work on some of you, and I know because it's currently working on Michi. The next scene consists of Caitlin and Tess the Terrible starting a small food fight because Caitlin accidentally trips Tess, and then Tess decides to purposefully spill spaghetti on Caitlin. Okay, double dipping on that was crazy. I guarantee you she got the point the first time when you put wet noodles on her. So Brown takes all 3 girls, Michi included because she tried to break up the fight and then got into trouble for it. Either way, Brown asks who threw the first piece of food, and Tess says that Caitlin threw it first, which is technically true, but Tess literally poured spaghetti on her twice, so I think that this is a fair reaction. Regardless, Brown gives Caitlin kitchen duty for the rest of the summer. That is an insanely unfair punishment. Caitlin then proceeds to get mad at Michi like she caused the shit, knowing damn well that Michi actually tried to prevent it. And you have to remember that Caitlin somewhat brought this upon herself by bad-mouthing Tess in front of everyone, which wasn't necessary. Don't get me wrong, Tess deserves it, but it wasn't necessary. In the next scene, Michi runs into Shane, which happens because it's a movie and people do that sometimes. And Shane unleashes the 4th song of the movie upon her. The 4th song of the movie is titled Gotta Find You. It's pretty good, but there are actually background vocals in this song, and it's so off-putting when it's supposed to be like just him personally serenading Michi. It really does feel weird. And there's also at least a little bit of auto-tune in there, which also sounds weird when it's supposed to be a one-on-one song. But honestly, it's a good song. If I were a 16-year-old girl, I would be freaking out hearing this, so I'm giving it a spot on the DCOM Hall of Fame for that alone. I also do think it's a pretty good and relatively iconic song. I'll give it a solid 7.5 out of 10. After some more flirty stares, Michi heads back to her job in the kitchen. This is where she's confronted by Caitlin, and we get some absolutely peak acting.
Wait a minute. You're the cook's daughter. She's your mom. Oh, this is rich.
I'm not even kidding. This is one of the worst performances I've seen in my life, and I'm not gonna blame it on Allison Stoner. This was a movie that featured mostly child actors, and most of the child actors aren't very good. At that point, either your casting director or your regular director should have been giving more direction. But Caitlin does bring up an interesting point to Michi. Why lie about any of this? I understand Michi was doing it to get in with Tess. That part makes sense. But what does this effectively actually accomplish? The only thing it really does is make Michi's life harder throughout the entire movie. It's not like they're gonna publicly execute her because she's not rich. You are at a camp full of future Coachella concert goers. I promise you, these are the least judgmental people you will be around in your entire life. Okay guys, I know I keep going on like random unrelated tangents, but it's driving me crazy. Does she not look like the daughter of Jake Gyllenhaal, or is that just me? Like, I don't know, something about their eyes, I think. I don't know what it is, but I look at her and I'm like, that is Jake Gyllenhaal woman. Am I crazy? Tonight is the Pajama Jam. It's where they get into pajamas and jam. I'm sure you could have figured that out, but I figured I should tell you that anyway. This is Caitlin's chance to show off what she can do, and... What the fuck is this? Okay guys, let's not gas this up. This is genuinely the worst thing that I've heard since that Uncle Aaron song in Spider-Man Miles Morales for the PS4. At least when you listen to that, you get a cool suit. When you listen to this, you get tinnitus. Tess Tablespoon interrupts Caitlin's song, which normally I would get upset about and then call her a bitch, but at this point, because that song was so terrible, I'm gonna thank her for it. Thank you, Tess. But this is actually where Mitchie decides to stand up for her friends, which is cool. Too bad it only took like an hour into the movie. Also, as a kid, I had no clue that this is where Whatever Major Loser came from. Every time I watch an old Disney Channel original movie, I feel like I'm on that beach that makes you old from the movie, you know, with the beach that makes you old. I can't remember the name of it right now, but I'm sure it'll come to me. Oh, awesome. Caitlin and Mitchie are talking again. Now that I think about it, when were these two ever good enough friends to have a rift driven between them in the first place? They've had two entire interactions, and one of them was the interaction when Mitchie became friends with Tess. And I even think friends might be a little strong of a word to use in this situation. I'm glad that they made up, but did they ever really break up? Even still, she immediately leaves Caitlin and then goes back to singing with Tess anyway. So like, what is the point of all of this? Did we learn fucking nothing? In the next scene, Jonas' brother makes a call to the Jonas Brothers, and this is where Shane decides he needs to find the girl with the voice. So he decides to spread his own rumor that Shane Gray is looking for the girl with the voice. I actually really like this scene though. It's incredibly 2000s teenage gossip. I love it. It feels so campy, no pun intended, and authentic at the same time. It's also just a really fun montage, but unfortunately most of these girls are terrible singers. One of them's not really like a terrible singer, but she does have a thick European accent, which is, I guess that makes her a bad singer. I don't know. The only people with any talent are these three black queens. They are so talented, and you should have signed them anyway because they literally could have been the next Destiny Child, and you just passed them up on that. If you're wondering why Mitchie doesn't throw her hat in the ring, it's because Shane's never heard me sing before. Yeah, no shit. Shane doesn't know who he heard sing. It could be anyone. That's the whole fucking point. And when you think about it, you actually did a good amount of public singing when you got here. Literally twice in your first day. Wait, fuck, is this scene cute? Come on, I'd be lying if I said Demi Lovato isn't adorable. She has a very authentic and dorky smile that does well on camera, I think. And it is nice to see that smile come out, even if it is because of a guy who was a huge douche. It feels nice to see her pull back her nervous layers while he pulls back his jerkier layers. It's like one beautiful onion, but instead of one onion, there are two onions. And instead of an onion, it's like a complex human psyche. It really makes you think, doesn't it? Tess Terrorizer decides to eavesdrop on Mitchie because she's jealous of Mitchie and Shane's relationship, and she finds out that Mitchie isn't actually the daughter of a famous multi-billionaire chef. Once again, I promise you, you could have Googled that. The next scene is the fifth song of the movie, titled Play My Music. This song is a banger by virtue of it literally just being a regular-ass Jonas Brothers song. Like, I feel like the song was probably contractually obligated to be in the movie if they wanted the Jonas Brothers to be here at all. But it is technically a DCOM song, so I guess it gets a spot in the Hall of Fame, but it's more of like a nepotism baby of the Hall of Fame. It's kind of, it's here, but it maybe doesn't deserve it? I don't know, give me your thoughts, I guess. That being said, within the movie itself, it's super random and has like nothing to do with the film at all. This doesn't even have to do with the camp. It's not one of the events. Dee isn't hosting this. She didn't come back for this. It does technically show character growth for Shane because he decides not to take the song to the studio and instead decides to stay and finish his tenure at the camp. But there are a couple of things that make this not as virtuous as you might think. First of all, he's legally obligated to be here. Even if he wanted to leave, he couldn't. Secondly, they could just take the song to the studio at literally any other time. The only reason they wanted to do it this day was because if they did it this day, it could be on the radio the next day. But you could just do it next week, or the week after that, or the week after that, or the week after that, or the week after. Third, if they wanted to show character growth, they could have finally done something with the fact that he wants to change his sound and then said, hey, instead of recording this, I have something else I want to take to you. And that would have been a great opportunity to show character growth. Instead, he just does a concert and nothing changes. I like this song, I really do, but there's no reason for it to be here other than contractual obligations or just Disney wanting more money. Or the evil third option is they wanted to pad out the track list for this movie. There's only 9 songs and not many of them actually matter. Immediately after the song ends, Tess Tombstone ruins the moment by outing Mitchie in front of everybody. This confrontation is stupid. Mitchie didn't lie to everybody. To our knowledge, the viewer, she lied to like 6 people, most of them don't matter. Also in this scene, it's stated that summer is almost over, which would have been nice to know, because if you asked me, I would have told you it's been like 2 or 3 weeks, maybe a month at best. And this is a problem they could have solved by saying, hey, we'll have a little fun event every month. That way, when they had the pajama jam, we would have known that it's been 2 months since they got there. Or even just randomly drop it in every once and again. Say, you've been at camp now for 5 weeks. Let's try something new. Like, you could have done that. But we have no in-depth changes to the characters of the world that make us feel like almost 3 months have passed. But back to the point with Michi, none of these people are gonna ostracize her because her mom isn't famous or because she lied. None of these people were hanging around Michi for that reason. They don't really want the connections to a famous chef. If this happened to someone I knew, I'd be like, dude, why the hell did you lie about that? Make fun of them for like 2 to 3 weeks and then act like nothing happened. Shane is overtly hurt by this lying, and everyone else just seems like moderately annoyed, if even that. But like, was Shane this involved with her? Because if so, I didn't really get that vibe. But what I specifically mean is that why does Shane have any reason to believe that Michi lying about her mom and her influence in the music world had anything to do with Shane? Because Michi actually never mentions this lie to Shane. To our knowledge, Shane never actually knew that Michi's mom was famous, reportedly. So we have no reason to believe that Shane thinks that Michi made up this lie for Shane. And that's the problem. Shane thinks that this is about him and Michi getting in with him. She made up this lie for Tess more than anything. You have to remember that Shane literally pulled Michi aside, sat her down, and serenaded her, and she didn't even know who Michi's mom was then. So I just find it odd that he gets this outwardly upset when it clearly wasn't a foundation of their friendship. Shane skips directly to my favorite stage of grief, denial, and acts like he never actually cared. He just says he cares about his tunes, and he sings the only part of the song that he knows, which Tess, the pro at eavesdropping, listens in on, recognizing it to be Michi's song. So she goes in and reads Michi's songbook. Honestly, I'm surprised it took Tess this long to do that. We established the music book like 20 minutes into this movie. There's like 15 minutes left. Shane is so pissed during the next class that he finds a way to write a very thinly veiled message straight to Michi. It's so thinly veiled that he looks her directly in the eyes while giving the entire speech. I said it way back when the movie started, this movie does not do nuance. I can see why Michi would want to be popular though. You know, she's like 14 in this movie. But like I said, the like 5 people she's actually friends with don't care. One guy even makes a joke about how he doesn't want to be sitting with the kitchen help and how it's gonna hurt his rep. Like, that's exactly what I think would happen in real life. I don't know why they ostracized her for a week before this. Michi then stands up to Tess, which is cool, but honestly, I'm surprised her lackeys still put up with her shit. They've been showing signs of getting more and more tired and independent from Tess, but it's like the final 5 days before Final Jam, and nothing's really changed. I mean, they can't leave Tess at this point. Who are they going to find another person to back up, sing, or dance for? In this job market, you'd honestly just have better luck writing and producing a whole new song. Oh, that's actually what Michi did. Okay, well, I guess that works out. In the next scene, Tess tuberculosis lies and says that Michi and Caitlin stole her favorite bracelet. Okay, this is actually one of the most I secretly hid this here, hiding places I've ever seen. Slightly peeking out from under a fucking book? Are you serious? Brown really sucks at resolving issues because the only thing he says that Michi and Caitlin can do is prove that they didn't steal the bracelet, a task that is literally impossible. Also, why in the hell would Michi hide the seemingly $100 bracelet in the middle of a kitchen? You think after directing Camp Rock for however many years, you would have gotten good at solving issues like this, but apparently not. So the punishment that Brown dishes out to Caitlin and Michi is that they can't participate in any more camp activities until the end of Final Jam, which is something that he's very specific about. I'm sure you can figure out what they're gonna do with that. Tess has a tantrum and her sidekicks finally decide that they're done with her shit, and they basically just leave her high and dry 5 minutes before the show starts. Which, she deserves. I'm glad they finally stood up for themselves, but why did they do it so late? They could have done it earlier and at least set up some stakes or something. But I'm not gonna act like this doesn't make sense for them to do it here story-wise. This is a huge event and they'd be more stressed out than ever, so I'm sure Tess's bitching wouldn't be helping. The first song of Final Jam and the sixth song of the movie is titled Hasta la Vista. So this is another song based on a group that we never saw, but I surprisingly still have a lot to talk about. Ella somehow manages to join and perform in this group. How the fuck did they coordinate that minutes before going on? She's lead singing here and dancing center stage. How could they have possibly arranged this in 15 minutes? The song is a very simple and straightforward teen dance pop, and you know what? I actually kind of like it. I don't know if I'd ever casually listen to this, but I do appreciate that it sounds different from a lot of other music we hear and a lot of other DCOMs. So I think for that, I might give it a spot in the Hall of Fame, and honestly, the song's about a 7 out of 10 anyway, so that seems fair. The second song of Final Jam and the seventh song of the movie is titled 2 Stars. Not a great song, but I will say that I do feel somewhat bad for Tess Tragedy. You know, she does want her mom to pay attention and to love her, and that's pretty relatable. And that's a struggle that they do set up for her pretty early on into the movie. That was like an hour ago, and I low-key don't give a shit anymore. I didn't skip over anything, by the way. This is the second time Tess has any sort of interaction with her mother in the entire movie. I will say, however, that the scene is well acted, and it is pretty sad because her mom does get another phone call during her performance, and you know, it's about what you'd expect. It's embarrassing, it's sad, it's kind of what she deserves. So yeah, I don't have any real sympathy for her, but it does seem like it's gonna be the setup for the antagonist redemption that's probably gonna be coming in like a couple minutes anyway. The last song of Final Jam and the 8th song of the movie is titled Here I Am. Actually, a great song. Thematically and tonally, it just fits. It's actually sung very beautifully as well. It does sound a bit generic, but I fuck with it. It's also gonna go in the playlist. But it does serve as the flashbacks from literally 15 minutes ago song of the movie. But I do enjoy the characters getting some catharsis for putting up with Tessa's shit for the entire film. It's a solid 8 out of 10. After that song, Final Jam is declared over. So Mitchie and Caitlin show up and ask to perform since it's the end of Final Jam, which is exactly what Brown wanted, and they go on and perform. Congratulations, you're now as smart as a Disney Channel writer. But why even go through all of these charades? All you did was make these girls horribly depressed for like 8 hours. And even then, like, what if they just didn't get the message and they straight up didn't perform? That being said, this is where we get the song that everyone remembers from this movie. The 9th song of this movie is, of course, This Is Me. I don't exactly fuck with this song, but I don't hate it. And I know this might make no sense, but I wonder if the song almost aged so well that I expected it to sound better when listening to it again. Like, I have such a fondness of the song in my head, but listening to it again, I'm like, oh, that's not at all what it sounded like. I was expecting it to be much more like Determinate, where I heard that again, and I was like, holy shit, this was the best thing ever. Was I fucking stupid for not loving the song as a child? And now I'm like, holy shit, this is the most mid song ever. This is completely average, and as a child, I felt the exact same way, maybe even a little bit better. That probably made no sense. In short, it's good, but I remember it being better. It's like a solid 8 out of 10. Also, I don't like that Shane just interjects in this song. I think that the song should be a solo simply for the reason that the song is called This Is Me. I think that the song should be focused more on Mitchie finally realizing that she deserves to be at this camp as much as everyone else. And this is how these two reconcile. Remember the last time that they talked, Shane was telling Mitchie off. Anyway, Peggy wins the Final Jam with her song, which makes sense. Even out of universe, she probably had like the objectively best song of all of them. Also, not that I want this movie to go on for another hour and 5 minutes, but is it not crazy that Final Jam was hyped up for so long and they're like 3 performances? I thought it was gonna be like a mandatory thing that every group did. I don't want to hear all their songs, but a montage would be nice. Wow, undeserved and underdeveloped reconciliation. How riveting. I would have literally never seen this coming. Tess also comes clean about stealing the bracelet. Too little too late, bitch. The damage is done. Fuck you. Like, you already fucked up what you set out to fuck up. You can't unfuck it. Mitchie and Shane have their moment too, but I don't like Shane, so I don't give a fuck. The movie ends with the Final jam section, which is like Fortnite Festival with everyone just kind of doing their own thing, but also singing one incredibly choreographed song and dance. It's the same old, hey guys, we did it, we're all friends now, and the movie is over song. And it ends with a shot of our two lovers who really shouldn't even be that into each other. Listen, I know it's a Disney movie, but maybe, just maybe, we could like end one of these movies with something interesting like the death of a family member. Okay, actually no, that's a bit much. That's actually a bit much. Yeah, so this is 100% the most cookie cutter, formulaic, dull blade Disney Channel original movie I have watched thus far. This was just High School Musical, but with worse writing and marginally better music. And the music is only better if you like pop music. This movie's biggest issue is that it has a pretty big identity crisis about what it wants to really be about. Is it about Mitchie's independence and or lack thereof? Is it about doing what you set your mind to? Is it about being kind to the others around you and treating your friends with respect? It kind of seems to want to be about all of them without actually fleshing any of those ideas out. This movie is just very thematically and tonally stale, while at the same time still feeling like it's trying to stick to a rigid formula with its characters. You have popular, edgy teen male, preppy, ignorant teen girl, queen bee, down-to-earth best friend, mom. There are, of course, parts of the movie that I like. The set designs for a lot of the classrooms and bedrooms are stellar. They're often really full of life, and it's clear at a glance what the room is for or what its inhabitants are like. I praised a lot of the songs in this movie because I do really like the songs. Quick aside though, I gave a lot of the songs 7s or 8s, and it's not because these are like the best fucking songs ever. When I use my rating scale, this is only for Disney Channel music, alright? If I was talking about these songs compared to something like anything by Kendrick Lamar, it would probably be like a 5. It's not like these songs are actually like really big fucking bangers, but for Disney standards, this is good. You know what I mean? That being said, a lot of these songs were bangers. This movie has more entries into the DCOM Hall of Fame than any other DCOM I reviewed thus far, which is nothing to sneeze at. The plot of the movie is just lame, it's boring, and it's predictable. Literally nothing you haven't seen 20 times before. The story is also just pretty boring. It's not bad, but it seems like it wants to be an underdog or a fish out of water story without Mitchie really being either of those things. She is an exceptionally talented young girl who most people would say is very pretty. I promise you her chance of succeeding was never lower than anyone else's. And the acting is honestly the worst of any DCOM we've reviewed so far. There is one movie that I think has worse acting, but we'll get to that later this season. I don't blame the actors as much as I blame the director though, because 1, the actors are children and should have been directed as such, and 2, the acting is bad for most of the characters, which means it's probably a director problem. Either that or they just had really, really, really bad actors consistently. But that's about all I have to say for this movie. So to round it all out, I'm gonna give this movie a 4.5 out of 10 on the critical score. It's not terrible, but it's far from amazing. It just doesn't really have a lot going for it outside of set design and music. That's pretty much it. But for the fun score, it's an easy 7 out of 10. The songs are fun to sing along to. You could probably watch it with friends that have some great nostalgia. And it's only 90 minutes, so if you're not a bitch like me, it's a good watch. And it's certainly something you could throw on in the background for sure, since it doesn't require too much attention, since you can guess the plot within 10 minutes of starting the movie. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you want an explanation of where I've been, you can stick around. If not, then go ahead and click off the video onto something else, or go do the thing you're procrastinating on, because I know you're procrastinating on something. That being said, I'm not your dad. It's up to you. I'm trying to help you. So for the last few months, I have been working passively on a lot of videos. At the time this comes out, the entirety of season 6 should already be written, which is like 12, 13 videos off the top of my head. I'm gonna start writing season 7 soon. And when I watch the movies, I will be watching them for the first time in my Discord server, and I will be streaming them, and then we watch the movie together. It's been a very fun experience doing that. I did it for all my videos of season 6. If you are already in the Discord server, you probably watched them with me. But, you know, for future reference, you can go and join the Discord server, follow my Instagram and my Twitter and to keep up, and I will be posting when I do them. And that's about it. Other than that, I'm gonna go take a nap, and I will see you next year. Yeah. Yeah, actually I do, I actually should get to work. I have bills to pay. I'm an adult. I have to do taxes. I'll see you guys soon. Yeah.